And so we're going to start off by having each of these founders and CEOs talk a little bit about themselves and what they do. And so we're going to start with you, Marianne. Please tell the audience a little bit about you and what your company does, and take it away.
All right. Well, how is everyone feeling? I really appreciate
energy.
being here. So a little bit about me. So I've been leading engineering teams here in the Bay Area for the last 15 years. I helped take a New Relic IPO. I brought a mind-body engineering team. I grew it globally. And then every single company that I joined either ended up getting acquired or IPO'd. At my latest role at Mindbody, I was director of engineering for their SF office. And I grew the team from 7 engineers to over 50. We expanded to New York and to Pune, India. And just being an engineer for the last 15 years and being one of the only women in the room, I've always been very passionate about promoting diversity so that when women do join the tech industry, they don't feel like they're alone. So that's always been my passion for the last 15 years of my life. After Mindbody, so we ended up getting acquired. And then I started my own company, Upward Recruiting, to really help companies hire more women engineers. And then our philosophy was that if you put a woman at a fast-growing startup, her career is going to get more women in tech leadership position to really start changing the face of the industry. So that was a passion project of mine. But within the first 18 months, we grew so fast, we reached $1 million in revenue. And then suddenly, I found myself operating a business, and I wanted to meet other entrepreneurs to share the same journey as I do. So then I started going to founder events, and then I would not meet any women. So I'm like, well, where are the women founders in tech? I cannot find them. So then I'm like, okay, well, if I can't find them, I'm going to create a group for them. So then I created Founders Bay. We have over 220 startups now, all women owned. We throw events almost every week or every 2 weeks to really help promote women entrepreneurs. And we have a very specific mission this year, which is to increase the number of funding going to women. With Founders Bay, we have the community, but we are also a venture studio where we provide the women all the resources they need to grow their startups. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Deepak, for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Ken, would you like to give the audience a brief intro?
Sure. My company is Tarlo Design. It was founded in 1984. Before that, I graduated in industrial design. Fortunate enough to know that type of work existed. When I was in high school, I didn't know it existed. I was on an engineering. I was fortunate to learn about what industrial design is, which is a sort of a combination of engineering and art and psychology and a few other things. So I went and studied it, and I've been doing it ever since. I was early in my career as the head of design and engineering for Casablanca Fan Company, makes those ceiling fans. I was also a lead engineer at a major industrial design firm in Beverly Hills. We did products for companies like Mattel and Ronco and other companies. And I noticed while I was working there that any person who came in as an independent entrepreneur or inventor would not get treated very well because the president of the company felt like, well, this is not a big corporation. They don't have the budget. We have to explain things to them. I don't have time. And so they didn't get treated very well. And it just so happens that I enjoy that educational process of explaining how things work. And I enjoy working with startups from the ground up. And so when I started my company, I focused on clients like that. And in those years, I've designed over 1,000 products worth over $1 billion in retail sales. So I have a lot of experience and more stories to tell than we have time for sure. But I'm happy to be here today. So thanks for inviting me.
Hey, thanks for being here. Last but not least, Bill Seidel, please take it away.
Hi, I'm Bill Seidel. I'm an entrepreneur, an inventor to some degree, but more of an innovator, and I'm an author. But above all, I'm an educator. I wrote the entrepreneurship and innovation program at Berkeley, taught it for 16 years. I was in the direct marketing business at the time, and I said, you don't have any classes in direct marketing? I have any programs here. So I wrote a class called Targeted Direct Marketing, and it did extremely well. I expanded to 5 classes in a certificate program, which I also wrote. Right now, I'm a mentor at UC Davis on marketing innovation, which is my focus as an expert witness as well. I got into the business wanting to design better products. And as such, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, studied design, graduate work, and solar architecture at ASU. And then I got a master's in product development. Got out in the real world and realized it didn't matter how good your product was, it only mattered how good your marketing was. So I did an about face and focused in marketing. And because if you've got a great product with no marketing, on the other hand, if you've got a poor product with great marketing, the odds of succeeding are pretty good. So marketing carries an enormous amount of. I don't believe it when people tell me the product failed. I said, your marketing failed, or your distribution was in the wrong place. There's a lot of other reasons. At any rate, I've been doing this for over 40 years, developing, licensing, and marketing new products. And first product was an unball, a soft, safe ball that didn't bounce, bruise, or roll away. Did the New York Toy Fair, raised the money for it, wrote a business plan, did the New York Toy Fair, and then sold Toys R Us, Target, and a couple of hundred other stores. And I looked at it and said, this is a full-time job for 2 people to raise the funds to do this. It was like more than I wanted to do. So because of that success, I licensed that. Because of that, I got a job developing the first robotic cat called the Petster, and that went on to do 50 million. And I started working at that company, asked me to come in and head up their marketing for all of their technology and their engineering, which I did. And one of our big successes out of that was the first baby monitor we licensed to Hasbro, Hasbro's Play School division. Then there was a great company in San Francisco that focused on demonstration products and sell from shows and fairs and such. And they had this wonderful product called the Food Saver that was $300. You stick it on a shelf and it failed. But you demonstrated it, show how it worked, and people bought it. So I said, this needs to be on TV. So we did the infomercials on that. And is Jason here?
Oh, no.
We could certainly use him in an infomercial. He'd be great. Tell him I said so.
If you guys haven't checked out our trademark information network on the USPTO YouTube channel, he also goes by Mark Tradesman. He's not in the room right now, but he's gonna kill me for telling us. But so there's only out for a limited time. Oh, here he comes. Let's stop talking about it.
So anyway, we do a lot of. We see a lot of products. We see a couple thousand things, concepts, patents, products a year, and we might accept 5 to 15. And we're looking for early stage concepts that fit market gaps. And that's an important point. From toys and games and technology developments to, we did a project, an Alaska project that revolutionized the soil industry in Las Vegas because we inoculated the soils with microbial. It was something way out of my field, but I pulled the right people in, didn't know what to do. So I'll plug my book. It's really what I do. Licensing Myths and Mastery. I'm signed to do a series of 7 books on myths and mastery, marketing myths and mastery, etc. Why most ideas don't work and what to do about it. And most ideas don't work because of bad decisions. Opinions are the big reason. A lot of people throw their opinions in there instead of hard market facts. And what to do about it is figure out how to master it. And that's the bottom line. Another thing you can do is you can subscribe to Inventor's Digest. Not because my picture's on the cover, but because it really has great content. I'm a columnist. I've got a monthly column in Inventor's Digest called Think Marketing, and it's all about how to think marketing. Like Harley Davidson doesn't market motorcycles. How's that possible? That's their product. What they market is freedom. You want freedom? Get a Harley. Often it's not what we see. People don't buy products, they trade money for benefits. So if your marketing is together, your message will be clear and it should work. But thank you.
May I borrow this magazine
Sure.
for a second? While we're doing shameless plugs, there is also a section in Inventor's Digest every month where the content is provided by the U.S. Patent. It is an online publication as well where you can go and you can see the monthly issues where we're highlighting some of the initiatives that we're doing at the Patent and Trademark Office, including things like Invention-Con on the road, our Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative. Yep. Oh, sorry. That probably would help if my microphone was on when I was saying that, right? So I was just saying, we have an article every month in the Inventor's Digest that the Patent and Trademark Office provides, talking about our initiatives, some of the things that we have been doing to kind of move the needle in the communities around the country. So please check it out. It's an online publication as well, but we do have a section that is dedicated to that the PTO provides. Cool. So well, that's a very lengthy introduction. I will move it over to Marianne. I got some questions for you. First and foremost, you operate as a venture studio. How can you explain how this model helps startups? Like, what's the difference between a venture studio and a traditional startup model?
Definitely. So if you think about the success rate of startups, the success rate of startups is extremely low. Less than 8% of startups end up succeeding. So we wanted to set out a place where startups can join and can help grow their company. So we're doing that in 3 different ways. The first one is that we work with founders and non-technical founders to help them build their MVP. Their MVP is the minimal viable product. We help them build the technology for their product. So we have a team of AI engineer, a full stack engineer, of UI and UX researchers who come in and really work with the founder on strategy and building out a product that is marketable and helping them find product market fit. Now, once they have the product, a founder will need support in marketing the product, in their sales strategy, in their go-to market. So we also have a team of experts that will work with those founders to help them set up those strategy, but also work alongside engineering and tech to make sure that what we're building is also the proper way to market the product. Now, the third part of it is that every startup needs capital to grow. So we are building frameworks to provide those startups access to capital, either through investor relations, through grant, helping them file their grants, and then really giving them the resources they need to grow it. So we're hoping that by providing sales, by providing marketing, go-to-market strategy, and then by providing them capital, the success rate of a startup is going to increase by working with us. And then we just want to plug something in that we are a female-founded venture studio. The majority of the startups we work with are female-founded. And then the people that we hire for that are also female-owned businesses or female engineers. So we're building a tech ecosystem that help promote and elevate women from the beginning.
Thank you. That's quite impressive. One of the things, being a woman entrepreneur, you probably face a specific set of challenges, and some of the founders that you work with also are facing some of these challenges. Would you just expand a little bit on what are some of the issues that you're facing, especially in an industry where it's very male-dominated?
So I'll give you just a stat that I think will sum up our challenges. So the number of funding going to women actually decreased last year. And can you guess what it is now? So it went from 2.1% to 1.9%. So female-founded startups are receiving less than 2% of all the funding. That by itself is a huge problem because we all know that we need capital to grow. And if you cannot access the capital that we need to grow our startups, then we are not on equal footing than our male counterparts. So the number one challenge is access to funding. So how do we change this VC ecosystem to really start increasing that number? So we are, every year the number of funding starts to grow. And another also challenge is that anytime you go to a founder event, right? If you look at the judges, if you look at the panelists, most of them are men. Women voices are not being represented. So at Founders Bay, what we started doing is that we started throwing events every week, and we throw events for both men and women because we're all allies, we're all in the same ecosystem, but we highlight women in those events. So all of our judges, all of the startup pitching, they're all women, so that we can start changing the face of the tech ecosystem. So we're hoping that that really makes a difference.
Oh, thank you. It seems like you're building a really giant community that is really supporting each other, right? And that's kind of like part of the ecosystem that we're seeing more and more of. Is we're relying on each other to kind of lift each other up as we move forward and as we build our companies together. So I really do applaud the model and using the community to lean on each other. So tell me a success story that you would like to share with the audience.
So we started working with a doctor who was very passionate about promoting mental health in the medical community. And that doctor was not technical at all. So then we worked with the founders to build their tech strategy and to build their product from the ground up. So now we released 2 apps. We have hundreds of users, and we're about to close a customer that's really, really exciting. So it's a success story because we really took, an idea, which was, okay, how do we promote mental health in the medical community, and then brought it all the way to market, and with a revenue stream that is scalable and sustainable over time.
Well, thank you. So one last question. What advice would you give startups and entrepreneurs that are just beginning their journey in entrepreneurship or in just any business or innovation?
When I meet entrepreneurs or people who are very interested in entrepreneurship, one common pattern that I'm seeing is that they're too scared to start. They have an idea that they've been wanting to implement for years, but they are scared to take that jump. So my advice is just go for it. What do you have to lose? Maybe, figure out how can you release your idea in the fastest way possible. So Reid Hoffman, he has a very popular saying that says, if you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you release too late. So figure out maybe one feature that you can release, that you can learn from and iterate over it. And even if, your product doesn't work, at least you learn something about it and you can, enjoy that journey. So just go for it. Don't be scared. And then now you have a whole community of tech female founders supporting you. So we're here for you.
Thank you. And with that, I do want to transition to Ken, because Ken, 40 years of basically taking a simple idea, getting it ready to be marketable and scalable. So Ken, I want you to talk about some of the things that you're doing at Tarlo Design and how, like, if I'm I get an idea, how do I get to you? Like, what is it that I do? Will you tell me I'm dumb if you don't like my idea? Will you send me packing? Tell me what I'm missing, right? Like, how do you educate people on, what it takes to go from an idea to actually a marketable product?
I try to have a good bedside manner. Even if it's not a great idea, I try to salvage it. It's like, well, maybe we could add this to it. But anyway, as I mentioned at the beginning, I studied industrial design. I went into the field of industrial design. But what I noticed was that no industrial design company that I know of, even today, was looking to help a startup entrepreneur see all the aspects of the design and the product to really know if it's a great idea and whether to even get started. There's main issue. Is it patentable? You know, as a startup, you want to have an idea that you can have some protection on so that when you spend all that time and money and finally get it out there, another big company doesn't just jump on it and capitalize on what you've done. Legal issues. Am I going to get sued if I make this product? One guy came into my office. He had a complete prototype. It was beautiful. It went on his steering wheel, and you could tap different places on the steering wheel, and drum sounds would come out. So you could play music. You could play the drums to whatever music was coming out of your radio. I said, great idea, but as soon as somebody drives into a tree while drumming on there, you're gonna get sued. You can't do it. You know? So there's legal. There's the educational threshold. What is it going to take for people to even understand what your idea is? I actually did a product, fingerboards for the guitar, because it turns out that the normal frets don't produce perfect tones in relationship. You know, anyway, I can explain for hours because I'd have to. Why do I even need an interchangeable fingerboard? Well, that was a hard sell because he needed a huge marketing budget just to let people know what this product was and what it did. So all these kind of features have to be thought of right at the beginning. It's like a puzzle. Every piece has to be there. And if you're missing a piece, it's a problem. Either you have to fill that piece or you have to move on to the next idea. So that's the approach I take when people come into the office. First, I listen to it. I do my own mental calculation of all these things. And then the next thing I want to do is a patent search to make sure no one's done it. You know, so we do a search, and then we're free to move ahead and do the concept work and the CAD work and physical prototypes and write the patent, everything it takes to make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you. And you said something earlier when we were talking that I just love, right? As innovators, inventors, even entrepreneurs, sometimes we get too much like this. We have tunnel vision. We put blinders onto like what the world and the market is actually telling us.
Right.
And to speak a little bit more about how you give that full 360 view to when they come talk to you, so that they understand everything and to help them kind of remove their blinders or put them down a little bit.
Well, it's you know, it took me many years to distinguish between an inventor and an entrepreneur. It took me, I don't know why I didn't get it sooner, but if, you know, you can be an inventor, you can come up with a great gizmo, you're in your garage, you're looking at this thing, and it's like, okay, it's great. But are you looking at the rest of the world? Are you looking at what they really need? You're an inventor, you don't want to tell anybody your idea because they might steal it, you know, so you get no feedback. And that can lead to problems because when it finally reaches, you know, a wider audience, they can ask some very basic questions that you never even thought of before. And you get shot down after all that time and energy you've spent on your baby, so to speak. So an entrepreneur, I mean, it does take some knowledge of the process of how a product moves from idea stage to ready for production to getting out there. And the more that knowledge you have coming in, the more successful you'll be. And my most successful clients are those that think of themselves as entrepreneurs from the beginning. They've got a business plan. They know what the market is. They know the size of the market. They know how they're going to get into the market. They know what they have to spend to get into the market. And they know that my job, developing the product, is one piece of this larger puzzle. And I enjoy working with those people because they come at it from that point of view. And if they're not coming at it from that point of view, either they've got to license their product to somebody who does have all that background, or they have to learn all that on their own, and I can give them resources to help them learn those things. But one way or another, you have to have that big picture. It's not just the product. Yeah.
And the resources you speak about, would you be happy talking about the USPTO resources?
Of course. USPTO is a wonderful resource, and always advise my clients to check out everything that's offered there for sure. Absolutely.
Now, you touched a little bit about like making sure they had their patent, doing a patent search. And the one thing that I love is, like you said, I'm an entrepreneur, and these are all just pieces of the plan, right? Getting that intellectual property protection. It's a part of your business plan, right? It's a part of the strategy that you intertwine to start building your business, whether you're going to license it or you're going to scale and grow your own and do it yourself, right? So I love the fact that you hit upon that. So I want to ask, one piece of advice before anybody ever showed up to your doorstep, and somebody who just snaps in with an idea, what do you tell them to do?
Well, first of all, the first thing I say is really don't go at it because you just want to make some money, because it's a long-term process and you're going to have ups and downs. So make sure it's something you really enjoy, that you really love. If you love cooking and you want to come up with a great new cooking product. If you're a golfer, you might come up with a great golf training product. But make sure it's something you love, so that as you're doing it, it's not so much work as it is as an exciting adventure, which is what it should be. So that's one of the things I say.
That's awesome. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm going to pivot a little bit to Bill. You have an interesting granola story, and I happen to be a big fan of granola.
I'll get you some.
So please tell us a little bit about this story, because it touches on all aspects of, from marketing to product placement to trademarks and patents, or not even patents, but trade secrets. I really love the story you shared earlier. Please share it with the audience and kind of like what you had to do to walk the entrepreneur through it.
There were these three lovely ladies that were making granola and selling it at farmers markets. And they were doing really well. The problem was they were doing 5 to 6 farmers markets a week. And if you've ever done a farmer's market, you gotta pack it up, you gotta take it there, you gotta set it up, you gotta sell it, you gotta break it down, then you gotta go home and make the granola. I mean, it was a really full-time job for all three of them, and they wanted to put it in a package and sell it. The problem was the product was really good. It was, they used quality ingredients. It was no sugar, soy free. I can't remember all the good things about it, but it was good.
Don't give away the trade secret.
Yeah, don't give away the trade secret. So I got involved with them because they had a lot of consultants. They had a food consultant, and they had an attorney, and they had an accountant, and they were all saying, "You can't do this. You can't sell this for this price because it's going to be too expensive and it's going to fail, and the ingredients are too expensive, and you have to cut the ingredients way back, which made the product worse." So I said, let's take a look at the shelves in the stores and see what's there. And we took some pictures of everybody was battling for the low price position, for the low price leader position at $3, $4, $5. And what I did not see was what we call a market gap, which was the high end, the premium granola products. There just weren't any in many of the markets that we went to. So I said, you need to package this in a package that makes it look like a $12 product and sell it at $8.99. And everybody came out against me, except the three mamas. They loved the idea. The attorney said, no, you can't do that. It's just, it's not in the market. Their food consultant said, no granola product is ever sold in mass at that price. It's not going to work. All the competition's down here. Their accountant was saying, you got to compete with the guys that are there. I said, I don't agree with any of them. Let's dummy up some packaging. We'll put it into markets where you're working at the markets where you're selling now, and we'll see how it works. And it went over very successful. We got a great picture of their mama, which they wanted, but it was a 1930s yearbook picture, which really wasn't very good. So we Andy Warholized it, put flaming colors behind it, and just made this package exciting. We put all the awards on the front. We trademarked the name. We created a brand. The top position. The first 21 sales calls were orders. And these were all companies that didn't want any more granola. So it really had everything to do with getting it in the right package and getting the right product in the right package. And 4 years after that, they sold the company, which was a great payoff.
Thank you, Bill. I mean, it just shows the value of having a great marketing plan. And, initially you didn't have any trademarks.
No, they had no trademarks. They had no copyrights. It's hard to get any patents on the formula for their granola because it's pretty simple stuff.
Right.
But we ended up with actually a packaging award and a number of trademarks and brand marks.
Yeah. I mean, so this is just for just for reference because the branding was so good and the people are recognizing that brand with the goods and services that Jason had talked about earlier. How much value did that really add to the company when they sold it?
Well, actually, as a retail product, it was a proven product. So, no, it's very hard to sell ideas and very hard to sell anything early stage because it's not proven and it's too high a risk. So what they're really looking for are proven products. And when you've got 4 years of steady sales through some major chains, that's proof of the product, and that really bumps the value high, and it brands it.
It brands it.
It locks it in. That
Absolutely.
trademark becomes invaluable.
Very
and
good.
The copyrights on the package become invaluable.
Yeah, Jason, once again, is not in the audience to hear the value of trademarks. All right, so we are getting close to the end, and I want to be able to let the people here to ask you some questions. And before we do that, I just want to go around and again, just give me, one piece of advice you want people here in the audience and people viewing online. What would you like them to take away from today? Let's start with Ken.
All right, from a product design or product development point of view, I would like to say don't spend a ton of money on high-priced industrial design firms because you don't necessarily have to do that. And I would like to say, look at that overall picture. Look at all the pieces of the puzzle. I've got a book called Mind to Money. It's available on my website or online on Amazon, and it tells you everything I know from all those years of experience in one book, Mind to Money. So I'd recommend doing your homework.
Thank you. Marianne?
I would say for any entrepreneur, find your unfair advantage. So figure out, what is the problem that you're solving and why are you the best person to solve that problem? And your unfair advantage could be your work experience. It could be your contacts. It could be your audience. It could be your patents. Find your unfair advantage and then market that, because also one of the things that investors look for is like, why are you the best person to solve that problem?
Thank you. Bill?
I have two.
Go for it.
Don't quit your day job. Because you're not really sure what's going to happen. A lot of people jump in the pool before they know whether it's empty or not. The other one is, where's the dough? Where's the money? Who's the customer? How are you going to monetize this? On the one hand, that's one of the reasons you're doing it. So it's got to pay for the way for you to continue to do it. So whether you're going to license it, whether you're going to manufacture it yourself, you have to figure out who the customers are and how you're going to find the money.
Thank you, guys. And yeah, at this point, open it up. Some questions for some of the people here. Jolene's going to be walking around. She has the microphone.
Hi. I've been a long-time AI scientist in the Valley, and I've been volunteering for charter schools for 20-something years. Now I combine these two experiences to create two companies. Only one of them that I execute, but I'm finding that being an engineer all my life, I don't know how to market the product. I don't know how to design the product. Like being an entrepreneur, starting a company requires a lot of skill sets, which I don't have. How do I augment myself so that I can successfully operate and run these business companies?
Who wants to take that one?
I can start. So It's awesome that you have the technical skills, right, which is very, very rare. I would say try to find a co-founder who has the marketing background, who's also passionate about the same problem that you have. YC has a great co-founder matching program, and a lot of actually entrepreneurs who have this marketing skill, they are looking for technical founders. So it should be fairly easier for you to find a co-founder with that skill set. And another thing also for marketing, figure out, are you B2C, are you B2B, and then reach out for experts. One of the ways that you can get them on board is telling them, hey, can you help advise for my startup? And I can give you advisory shares. And a lot of people would be interested in helping you out that way. So technical advisors, I mean, it depends. Right? It depends on the number of hours they are providing, but typically it's anywhere from 0.1% to 1%.
After the advice.
After the advice, exactly. And it's vested over, probably 6 to 12 months as well.
Tapped by my co-founder actually on the books. Now she crashed the business almost, which I started a new company. Now I'm trying to move all the assets over there. That's why I'm sort of as co-founder now. How should I protect when you look for a co-founder that you really never worked with and you never do business with? How do you make sure that you found the right co-founder?
Sign a non-compete. Have them sign a non-compete clause that if you should part ways, they're not going to do the same, be in the same industry as you.
No, my co-founder did the same thing, but he's not completely. That's why I'm sure
I would say if you've had a bad experience with co-founder, maybe try to find those advisors for your startup so you don't have to give all of the equity away. And another thing also in finding a co-founder is once you find someone with the skill set that you need, maybe spend time with them before kind of giving them equity. See if they share the same value as you. Do a test run before officially give them equity. Because at the end of the day, you're the founder, you have 100% equity. So you can control what you do with it. So you don't need to right away meet someone and tell them, hey, I'm giving you 50%.
I'm gonna jump in really quick. We're gonna chat. We do have we will be here afterward. No, it's okay. It's good questions, and this is probably something that people have on their minds. I just want to add something because of our conversation we had. There's a community of people who are going through the exact same thing, and we talked about that community of leaning on each other and learning from each other and sharing the experiences, good and bad, so that other entrepreneurs and startups don't fall into the same traps, right? So I would just say I'm not the expert by any way, shape, or form, but I would say find a community and lean